Maria Dela Cruz, a Filipina maid chasing a better life in Dubai, became the secret lover of three powerful sheikhs. But when their forbidden affairs leaked online, her dream life turned into a deadly nightmare buried beneath the desert sands. In 2016, a young woman named Maria Dela Cruz stepped off a flight from Manila, her heart filled with hope and fear. She was only 23, clutching a small suitcase that carried everything she owned. Like thousands of others, she had come to Dubai in search of a better life. Her family back home depended on her. Her mother was ill, her younger brother still in school, and every peso mattered. Maria had always been the quiet one, disciplined, hardworking, and deeply loyal. When an agency offered her a job as a live-in maid for a wealthy Emirati family, she accepted without hesitation. Her new home was a sprawling white villa in Jumeirah, with marble floors that gleamed like mirrors and rooms so large she felt lost inside them. Her employer, Sheikh Khalid al-Mansour, was a dignified man in his 40s who rarely spoke, but everyone treated him with great respect. His wife was kind but distant, and the other staff members kept mostly to themselves. Maria worked long hours, cleaning rooms, serving tea, and tending to the family's needs. Yet despite the pressure, she felt grateful. Each paycheck she sent home made her family's life a little easier. Over time, she became trusted. The sheikh noticed her reliability, how she never complained, how she carried herself with quiet confidence. He began assigning her small personal tasks, asking her to organize his study or prepare his clothes for travel. Maria didn't realize that these small moments would change her life forever. In the glittering silence of that mansion, her world was slowly shifting. She believed she had found stability, but destiny was already weaving a darker path. What began as a job of hope would soon lead her into a web of secrets she could never escape. Sheikh Khalid al-Mansour was a man of influence and restraint, known across Dubai for his discipline and generosity. To the public, he was a symbol of respect and order, a man devoted to family, business, and faith. But inside his vast home, quiet loneliness often lingered. His wife spent most of her time abroad, and his children were grown, busy with their own lives. In that silence, Maria's presence became something he looked forward to. She moved through the house with calm grace, always polite, always efficient. She spoke little, but her kindness and attentiveness did not go unnoticed. At first, their connection was purely professional. Maria prepared his meals, arranged his clothes, and managed his daily schedules with precision. But small moments began to blur the line between duty and something unspoken. One evening, while Maria delivered tea to his study, a sudden power cut plunged the villa into darkness. She hesitated, unsure of what to do, and Khalid used the flashlight on his phone to guide her out. It was a brief, simple moment, but their eyes met, and something shifted. From then on, his tone softened whenever he addressed her. Maria sensed the change but told herself it was harmless. He began leaving her small tokens of gratitude, a silk scarf, a gold pendant, a perfume bottle. She didn't know how to refuse without offending him, and soon, she stopped trying. What began as appreciation turned into affection, quiet and secretive. Khalid found in Maria a warmth missing from his life, while Maria saw in him security and comfort. Neither realized that this fragile connection, born in silence, would be the first thread in a chain of events that would destroy them both. As months passed, Maria's life transformed in ways she never expected. The once timid maid from Manila now wore designer scarves, gold bracelets, and delicate perfumes that glistened under the soft light of the villa. Sheikh Khalid's generosity knew no limits. He slipped her cash in envelopes, gifted her luxury handbags, and ensured she never lacked anything. For Maria, the gifts were more than symbols of affection. They were a promise of freedom. She began to imagine a future where she would no longer serve others, but live among them. The thought thrilled her and frightened her all at once. With every secret exchange, her confidence grew. She learned to move gracefully through rooms filled with wealth and silence, no longer intimidated by marble floors or grand chandeliers. But deep inside, a quiet greed began to take root. What started as gratitude turned into desire for more attention, more luxury, more power. Her friends back home would never believe how far she had come, how close she was to a world they could only dream of. Then came a moment that changed everything. One afternoon, a visiting family friend noticed Maria and admired her work. He was impressed by her efficiency and asked if she ever took part-time work. The idea sparked something inside her. If she could serve more than one wealthy household, she could multiply her income, expand her reach, and maybe even secure her own future. Against her better judgment, Maria said yes. Through quiet arrangements, she began working part-time for another family. She believed she was in control, but the web around her was tightening. What she didn't see was that her hunger for more would lead her directly into the lives of men far more dangerous than Sheikh Khalid. Maria's new position came through a private recommendation, one that wasn't entirely official but paid far better than her contract allowed. She told no one about it, not even the other staff in Sheikh Khalid's villa. Her second employer, Sheikh Rashid Al Maktoum, was everything Khalid was not: young, daring, and restless. His mansion in Emirates Hills was filled with expensive art, loud parties, and a constant stream of guests from around the world. Maria was hired to assist in household management, but her beauty and quiet confidence drew Rashid's attention almost immediately. He liked how she never tried to impress anyone, how she remained calm even when chaos surrounded her. She was different from the glamorous women who attended his parties. One evening, while most guests had left, he noticed her clearing the terrace, her hair falling over her face under the soft glow of the lights. He watched her for a long moment, intrigued. Within weeks, he began finding excuses to call her into his private quarters, first for harmless tasks, then for reasons that blurred the line between duty and desire. Maria felt uneasy at first. She knew she was crossing a dangerous line, but Rashid's charm was magnetic. He offered her money, jewelry, and whispered promises of protection. She told herself it was just another opportunity, a way to secure her future even more. What she didn't realize was how reckless Rashid truly was. He was impulsive, used to getting whatever he wanted, and blind to the consequences. By becoming involved with him, Maria unknowingly stepped into a circle of power and envy where secrets were currency, and where betrayal was punished without mercy. Her double life had begun, and it was only a matter of time before someone noticed. Maria's connection with Sheikh Rashid opened doors she never dreamed possible. Through his lavish gatherings, she entered circles where only the elite were welcome. She moved silently among politicians, investors, and royals, blending in with the grace of someone who no longer saw herself as just a maid. At one such event held in a private desert resort, she met Sheikh Zayed al-Qasimi. Older than Rashid and far more reserved, Zayed carried an air of quiet power. He rarely spoke, but when he did, people listened. Maria caught his attention not with beauty or words, but with composure, a calmness that seemed out of place in a world ruled by excess. A few days later, Zayed sent a request through Rashid's assistant. He wanted Maria to help organize his private residence in Al-Bershah, citing her reputation for efficiency. Flattered and curious, she accepted. His mansion was different, elegant but understated, filled with books, antiques, and silence. There were no parties, no chaos, just control. Zayed watched her closely during those early visits, studying her as though she were a mystery he wanted to solve. Over time, he began asking her to stay longer, handling personal matters that no other staff member touched. Then came the inevitable. Late one evening, she found herself alone with him in his study, surrounded by the quiet hum of air conditioning and the glow of gold lamps. Something unspoken passed between them, and boundaries dissolved. By the end of that night, Maria was entangled with three of Dubai's most powerful men, each believing they possessed her, each unaware of the others. She thought she could keep her secrets separate, but the walls of power are thin, and whispers travel fast. The triangle she had built was now a ticking time bomb. The world Maria had built with careful lies began to crack without warning. One morning, while cleaning Sheikh Rashid's private suite, a bodyguard discovered something unusual: a small black camera hidden behind a decorative vase near the dressing area. It was sophisticated, the kind used for covert surveillance. At first, they assumed it was installed by a jealous guest or a rival trying to spy on the Sheikh's lifestyle. But when the footage was retrieved, what appeared on the screen left everyone in silent shock. The memory card contained intimate videos of Sheikh Rashid, Sheikh Khalid, and Sheikh Zayed, each with Maria. The angles were deliberate, the timing precise. Someone had been recording for months. The discovery ignited panic. Rashid's temper exploded, and he accused his own staff of betrayal. Security teams were ordered to sweep the property, phones were confiscated, and private investigators were hired. But it was too late. Within days, snippets of the footage leaked onto the dark web. Screenshots circulated in encrypted chat groups, spreading faster than anyone could stop. The videos were grainy, but recognizable. The faces were unmistakable. Maria was unaware at first, but whispers among staff reached her quickly. When she tried to contact Sheikh Khalid for help, his phone was unreachable. Zayed's guards turned her away at the gate. Suddenly, the powerful men who once showered her with gifts now treated her as a liability. Fear crept in as rumors swirled about who planted the camera. Some said it was Rashid's jealous cousin. Others claimed it was a blackmail scheme gone wrong. Maria packed a small bag that night, ready to disappear. But someone was already watching her every move, waiting for her next step. The scandal had escaped control, and Maria was at its deadly center. Within hours of the footage leaking, the private lives of 3 of Dubai's most powerful sheikhs became a silent storm. Officially, nothing was said. Publicly, nothing happened. But behind palace walls, chaos spread like wildfire. Encrypted videos were shared across hidden channels, reaching journalists, hackers, and even foreign embassies. Each clip showed fragments, soft lights, familiar faces, moments of intimacy that should never have seen the light of day. The authorities worked tirelessly to erase every trace, but the internet moved faster than power. By dawn, the secret was everywhere and nowhere all at once. Maria's name appeared in online whispers, though not yet in headlines. Some called her a manipulator, others a victim. In reality, she was terrified. She stopped leaving her room, barely ate, and flinched at every sound. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. Unknown numbers, threatening voices, and silent calls that hung heavy with warning. She begged one of her few friends, a driver from her old job, to take her somewhere safe. But safety no longer existed for her. The next morning, she was gone. The staff found her room empty, her bed untouched, and her few possessions missing. Her passport had vanished too. The CCTV cameras at the back entrance showed her leaving just after midnight, wearing a headscarf and carrying a small black bag. A dark SUV appeared moments later, its license plates blurred by the glare of the lights. She entered the vehicle without hesitation. After that, there were no traces, no phone signals, no sightings, nothing. Rumors spread that she had fled the country. Others believed she had been silenced before she could speak. What began as an affair had become a scandal powerful enough to destroy empires, and Maria had simply disappeared into the shadows. The investigation into Maria's disappearance was never made public, but within Dubai's security circles, it became an urgent and delicate matter. The police received direct orders to find her quietly and avoid drawing attention. Powerful men were at stake, and exposure was not an option. Her last known location was traced to the black SUV captured on the villa's security footage. The plates belonged to a luxury vehicle registered under a logistics company linked to Sheikh Zayed al-Qasimi. When questioned, his representatives denied any connection, calling it a mistaken identification. Yet investigators knew better. Every luxury car in that network was accounted for, except this one. For days, teams combed through desert highways, abandoned warehouses, and migrant neighborhoods. Maria's friends in the Filipino community were questioned, though most claimed they hadn't seen her in weeks. Some said she had planned to leave the country, that she was headed to Oman using forged documents. Others swore they saw her near Dara Creek, speaking to someone in a black kandura who gave her an envelope. Each lead faded into silence. As the search continued, the 3 sheikhs grew more paranoid. Sheikh Rashid doubled his private security, Khalid left for London, and Zayed moved his family to a private estate. None of them spoke publicly, but tension rippled through their circles. The fear was not just about Maria. It was about what else she might have known, what else could leak if she were alive. Weeks passed without progress, and eventually, the case was quietly closed. The official record stated that Maria had likely fled Dubai to avoid arrest for breach of confidentiality. But those who had seen her last knew she wasn't running away. She was being hunted, and the hunt had ended abruptly. 2 weeks after Maria's disappearance, A group of hikers exploring the outskirts of Al Qudra Desert stumbled upon something unusual half buried in the sand. It was a torn piece of fabric, silky, embroidered, and stained with something dark. Nearby, the wind had uncovered a shallow mound. When authorities arrived, they unearthed a body wrapped in a bedsheet, the face barely recognizable. The desert sun had done its work, but fragments of jewelry and a faded passport photo confirmed what everyone feared. It was Maria Dela Cruz. The news never reached the public. The area was sealed off within hours, and the hikers were paid to remain silent. The official report labeled it as a possible migrant accident, though investigators knew better. The bruises on her wrists, the broken nails, and the faint rope marks around her neck told a different story. Someone had tried to erase her existence. Yet in the silence of that barren landscape, her story refused to vanish completely. Behind the scenes, whispers spread through the security agencies. A confidential forensic report indicated Maria had been dead for several days before being buried. There were traces of sedatives in her system, suggesting she had been subdued, not killed in anger, but silenced with precision. No arrests were made, and the file was locked away under state protection. Inside Dubai's elite circles, tension grew unbearable. The three sheikhs, once allies, now eyed one another with suspicion. Each wondered who had ordered her death and whether the others had known. Their friendships fractured, their empires began to crumble, and every whisper of her name carried a shadow of guilt. The woman they once desired had become the ghost that haunted them all, buried in sand but not forgotten. In the months following Maria's death, the silence surrounding her case became suffocating. Publicly, nothing changed. No headlines, no police reports, no acknowledgement that she had ever existed beyond her employment records. But behind the walls of power, an invisible war was unfolding. The three sheikhs who had once shared quiet respect now turned on one another in a battle fueled by fear and distrust. Sheikh Khalid, once calm and composed, began selling off parts of his business empire, convinced his rivals were plotting his downfall. He stopped attending social events and moved his family abroad under the guise of health reasons. Sheikh Rashid, younger and impulsive, lashed out recklessly. He fired half his staff, replaced his drivers, and installed cameras across every corner of his mansion. His temper grew volatile, and those closest to him noticed sleepless nights and constant drinking. He was certain someone within his circle had leaked the footage and orchestrated Maria's death to discredit him. Meanwhile, Sheikh Zayed remained composed on the surface but moved quietly behind the scenes. His companies began transferring assets overseas, and his personal security detail doubled. He refused to discuss Maria, dismissing her name as nonsense whenever it surfaced. Yet his silence was the most dangerous of all. It hinted at guilt. The government, desperate to preserve stability, urged all parties to end their disputes. Private mediators stepped in, but the damage was irreversible. The alliance between the families fractured, and the undercurrent of paranoia grew stronger with every rumor. In whispered conversations across Dubai's elite gatherings, people spoke of a curse, the downfall of three powerful men caused by one woman's death. The truth remained locked away, guarded by those too afraid to expose it, and too guilty to forget it. Months after Maria's death, when the world had seemingly forgotten her, a quiet breakthrough emerged. In Manila, a Filipino journalist named Rico Navarro received a plain envelope with no return address. Inside was a flash drive and a short note that read only, "Tell her story." The drive contained folders of videos, financial records, and private emails, evidence linking Maria to all three sheikhs and documenting their secret affairs. There were also scanned copies of travel documents, medical reports, and even messages showing that Maria had feared for her life days before she vanished. Whoever had sent the package wanted the truth exposed, but had chosen to remain invisible. Rico spent weeks verifying every file. The details were shocking: large payments made to Maria's family, luxury purchases in her name, and encrypted exchanges between the sheikh's aides discussing how to manage the situation. The evidence was undeniable. Maria had not been a manipulator or blackmailer. She had been caught in a web of control and silence, punished when she tried to escape it. Rico knew publishing the story could cost him everything, but he also knew it was the only way to give her justice. Using an online pseudonym, he released the exposé across international platforms. The article exploded overnight. International media picked it up, calling it the Desert Scandal. The Sheikhs' representatives denied every accusation, labeling the story fabricated defamation. Within hours, lawyers threatened to sue, and digital traces of the article began disappearing. But the files spread faster than they could be erased. Screenshots, backups, and copies surfaced everywhere. For the first time, the powerful men who had buried Maria's story could not control the narrative. Yet Rico's victory was short-lived. The attention that had protected him now made him a target. Rico Navarro's exposé had shocked the world, but his triumph quickly turned into terror. Within days, strange things began happening. His email accounts were hacked, his phone tracked, and unmarked vehicles started parking near his apartment building. He told colleagues he felt he was being followed, though he couldn't prove it. One evening, after finishing another article about corruption in overseas employment, he failed to return home. The next morning, his apartment door was found slightly ajar, the lights still on, his laptop and the original flash drive missing. There was no sign of struggle, just silence. His disappearance made international headlines for a day before the story was mysteriously taken down from major news sites. Within 48 hours, every trace of the leaked scandal vanished from the internet. Search results were wiped clean, archives deleted, and video evidence scrubbed from servers. It was as if the entire story had never existed. The few remaining copies of Rico's files circulated privately among activists and journalists, but many who possessed them received anonymous threats. Some destroyed the data out of fear, others simply disappeared. Months later, Maria's case faded into rumor. Officials dismissed it as a conspiracy invented by online trolls. Yet whispers persisted in Dubai and Manila alike. Whispers of cover-ups, of money changing hands, of silenced witnesses. Those who knew the truth kept quiet, afraid of ending up like Maria or Rico. To this day, no one has been charged, no files reopened, and no justice delivered. Maria Dela Cruz remains buried in an unmarked grave in the desert, and the men who caused her downfall continue their lives untouched. But sometimes, travelers claim that on quiet desert nights, a woman's figure can be seen walking beneath the moonlight, carrying secrets the world refused to hear.